Hi everyone. I have been contemplating about writing this for a long time. The truth is, I don't know if this is real or if it's all in my head. Whatever this is though has changed me in so many ways, and I know that I'm in danger. We all are. But let's start from the beginning. The first time that it happened, I was praying. I had recently lost my grandmother and I was feeling lost. I decided that I would turn to God to find some peace and some answers and come to terms with her death. The chapel I went to was the one that my grandmother used to take me to. It was small and always very quiet. Not many people visited. I decided to go there to feel closer to her. As I walked in, I could see no one, and which made me feel better. I really didn't want to lose it in front of other people. I sat down to enjoy the silence and started praying. Imagine my surprise when in the middle of my prayer I heard this little voice whispering, "I hear you." I jumped up and I looked around. I was clearly alone and I could not locate the source of the voice. I decided that it was just a figment of my imagination and I continued to pray. 5 minutes later though, the voice came stronger. "You shouldn't be doing that." It was right next to my ear. So close that it made the hairs on my neck stand up and sent shivers down my spine. As I turned around, I came face to face with a girl. She couldn't have been older than I was. Maybe 16 or 17. She was wearing this red dress and she was barefoot. Her hair was the darkest black that I've ever seen and her eyes the same. I started screaming, but at the same time I was mesmerized by her beauty. "Shh," she said, putting her hand on my mouth. "Do you want Father to hear us?" Her touch was soothing and not threatening in any way. "Who are you?" I asked, trying to fight back the tears. "I am the devil," she said. "The first unwanted." I started trembling, fearing that this was the end of me. She moved closer as if reading my mind. "Don't worry, child. I won't hurt you. I am not the one you should be afraid of. I have come to warn you as I have done with so many others." A sudden noise like whistling made her stop talking and I could see fear in her eyes. I tried again to locate the source of the sound, and by the time I turned around to face her, she was gone. Only her scent lingered, and this lovely lavender scent. I stayed there not moving, trying to listen for what felt like hours. I was sure that I was going crazy, and I convinced myself this was all due to grief and lack of sleep. But as I closed the door behind me to head to my car, I heard the whisper again. "Be careful." It had been a week since the incident, and I had almost forgotten about it. I could hear the occasional whisper and catch a glimpse of something red in the corner of my eye, but never something specific. Fate would have it that I had to go and pick up my mom from the bus station, and the only way there, yes, you guessed it, was past the road with the chapel. The drive was uneventful until I got to the crossing in front of the chapel. I was getting nervous remembering what had happened, so I turned the radio on louder and I tried to find a relaxing song. And that's when it came. The smell. The lavender smell. I looked up from the radio and there she was. She was standing right in front of my car. She looked exactly as she did before, but different at the same time. Older and tired. I screamed and I got out of the car. I started running to the field behind me. I was losing it. The tears came and I succumbed to my fate. I turned around to face her as I could feel she had followed me. "What do you want from me?" I screamed at her. She looked at me with that deep sadness in her eyes and she came closer. "I want you to hear me out, child. I want to protect you. I am running out of time and you have to help me." I was lost for words but somehow mastered the courage to reply. "Me help you? Aren't you supposed to be all-powerful and, evil? Aren't you the devil?" She came up next to me and this time she smiled. "My lovely child, yes, I was powerful once, but evil never. As for the name, I kind of hate it. You can call me Lilith." Somewhere in the distance, whistling was heard. I tried to speak, but she cut me off. "Child, you have to understand that what you know is all wrong. The world is in danger. You have been taught so many lies. You have been deceived. I am not the one that you should be afraid of. I am not the one that is going to hurt you. I was God once." Hearing that, I started laughing. I laughed and laughed because I was sure that I was crazy. This could not be happening. This thing in front of me, Lilith, was claiming to be God. She grabbed my hand and my laugh was cut short. "Child, you have to understand," she said. "I don't have much time. Can't you see that I'm different? I am getting older. Dying even. He found a way to make it happen, and if I'm gone, there is no way to save you. See through the lies. Believe me." The whistling was heard again. Closer. She squeezed my hand with profound urgency and pleading eyes. Whatever made me say the next words changed my life forever. "Okay, let's say that I start to believe you. How can I help? What is happening?" The wind picked up suddenly and I saw her shivering. "Not here," she said. "I will explain tonight in the chapel. Tell no one where you're going. Don't even think about it in your mind. He is everywhere." And with that, she disappeared. I was left alone once again thinking that I was insane, imagining things. The red mark on my hand from where she had held me though was there to prove me wrong. I suddenly remembered about my mom and I checked the time. I was surprised to see that no time had passed and somehow I was standing right next to my car. I decided to do what I was told and to not dwell on it in my head. I don't know who he was, but I was suddenly afraid. The rest of the drive was uneventful, and I do have to admit that seeing my mom made me feel better. Upon returning home, we sat down and we had dinner together, happily chatting away and reminiscing about the last time she had came to visit. Suddenly, she stood up and proceeded to say that she had a gift for me. She ran out of the car and brought in this little package and gave it to me. "I hope you like it, my dear. It's new perfume. Try it," she had said. I thanked her and I proceeded to open it. I took the cap off to smell it and I froze. It was lavender. I tried my best to hide my horror from my mother and I casually asked her why she had chose to buy me this specific one. In retrospect, I wish that I never had asked her, because her answer chilled me to the core. She had explained that she was in the shop struggling to buy me a present when a girl had approached her. A girl roughly my age with a lovely red dress. Her hair was the darkest black and so were her eyes. My mom said she was instantly drawn to the girl and they started chatting. The girl was really interested to hear that my mother had a daughter and asked all sorts of questions about me. She said that the girl suggested the perfume because it was her favorite. My mother said that the girl seemed sure that I would love it because lavender is such a soothing and familiar scent. I wish I could tell her how wrong she was. With this discovery in my mind, I decided that I couldn't hear anymore, so I found an excuse to cut the conversation short and put a film on. A couple of hours later, I said goodnight to my mom and I headed up to my room. The time was almost midnight, and I made sure that my mom had went to bed. I waited a bit until she had fallen asleep and I got ready to make my way to the chapel. I was terrified but determined to find out what was going on. "Okay, Lilith," I whispered as I got into the car. "You have my attention." As I was driving to the chapel, I was sure that somebody was following me. I choked it up to my nerves and I drove on. I barely realized how I got there since my mind was preoccupied with wondering what she was going to tell me. I parked my car down a small alley so it wouldn't be visible, took a deep breath and I went in. Upon entering, all my nerves and agitation had disappeared. The lavender scent was there and all the candles were lit, giving the inside of the chapel a soft warm glow that made me smile. I scanned the room with my eyes until I found her, and that's when my smile disappeared. She was hiding in the corner, visibly shaken, and I could see a slash on her right cheek. What made more of an impression on me was that once again, she looked older, and a lot more tired. I approached her with caution and I whispered her name. She suddenly looked up and I noticed her eyes light up in seeing me. "Oh, I'm so glad it's you. I was scared that he had found me again. Eve, come closer. I need to tell you everything before it's too late." The way she said my name made me shiver. Familiarity struck me and I was left numb. I felt that I had seen this before. For the first time since I first saw her, I felt like I really knew her. She caught up with my change of demeanor and she came closer. "So, you start to remember. I was hoping we would not have to have this conversation again. I was hoping that I had managed to keep you safe." I held her hand and I tried to concentrate, but I couldn't. "Please tell me what is happening, Lilith. Yes, this all seems familiar, but I can't piece anything together." She smiled softly. That warm, knowing smile, and she started her story. "Eve, first of all, you have to understand why it is vital for you to stay safe. It all started 1,000 years ago. My father created me and my brothers, his angels. We were powerful beings and we gladly helped Father to create the rest of the world. After we had finished, Father was content, but I felt empty. I felt that this beauty, this creation went underestimated. I felt we needed to create more, and so I did. I created you, Eve, and alongside you, Adam. I knew Father would never approve as he wanted to be the sole creator of everything in the universe. You see, Father was loving but within limits. You could never defy him. You had to obey his rules. I kept you and Adam safe in the Garden of Eden, and you were so happy. Believe me, Eve, you were truly happy. But one day the inevitable happened. You called me your God. A word so powerful on its own that stirred things, changed the balance, and he knew. I begged him to spare you. I begged him to take it out on me, to leave you, my children, alone. And he promised that he would, Eve. If I gave up my heavenly rights and walked out of heaven once and for all, he promised that he would allow you to keep living. I had no choice and I left. But Father was cruel. Yes, he kept you alive, but tainted your existence. He made you miserable. He made you believe that he had created you and that he owns you. He made you hate me and praise him. Eve, you have to understand you never deserved this. Humanity never did. You did nothing wrong. The books and the teachings, everything is a lie. You are innocent, Eve. At this point, I was crying my eyes out. My memory was still hazy, but I knew that this was true. How did I get here? I managed to ask. How can I be alive? Yes, you would always ask me this. You have to understand that Father didn't count on one of his favorites loving me more than him. Michael let me know of Father's plans to deceive you with the apple, so I managed to put some of my grace in it. Once you took a bite, you became immortal, Eve. When your body dies, you simply move on to a new one. And it is the same for Adam. I have managed to keep you safe by erasing your memory from time to time, but now he knows. Michael is long gone, and this is my last chance. You have to find Adam. You have to find him and help him remember. And then you have to save the world. I was lost for words. I looked at her and I tried to understand what was happening when suddenly, the all-too-known whistling came back. Lilith screamed in agony and the candles went out. An icy feeling came over me and I saw a shadow moving closer. This was surreal. It was pitch black in the chapel, but still the shadow was clearly visible. It was like it was sucking all the air out of the room. I almost fainted when I heard his voice.
Finally, I found you, child.
I screamed in terror. The candles came back on and I saw him. He was standing behind Lilith and he looked nothing like I imagined. He was holding her close, hugging her, but you could see that she was hurting. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" I asked. He laughed this roaring laugh that reached the bottom of my soul.
I wasn't talking to you, child.
He said.
I was talking to my child. The one that betrayed me. Lilith, why would you do this to your own father? Haven't we been through enough? Don't you miss heaven?
Lilith looked at him in disgust. "You are not my father. You killer cast away anything that doesn't fit your rules. What have you done to Michael?"
Ah, yes, Michael. The other disobedient child.
Let's just say Michael has been reprogrammed. He knows where he belongs now. He said while grabbing her tighter. I couldn't take any more and I lunged at him. He stopped me with his eyes. The pain was excruciating and I howled. He laughed and laughed and I could hear his laugh in my head. "Please stop hurting her. Please, Father, stop." Lilith screamed and managed to escape his grasp. She put her hand on my forehead and immediately the pain went away.
"Oh, Lilith, aren't you tired of wasting your grace? She is clearly not the savior you think she is. You will die in vain."
And with that last comment, he pulled her close once again and flames engulfed her. She fell backwards with empty eyes looking at the ceiling. "What did you do to her, you monster?" I cried, but he was long gone. The lavender scent had disappeared and all I was left with was darkness and this cold whisper.
Don't they say God works in mysterious ways?